North Carolina Central puts 3 receivers at the top. They swing it over to Totten, and he makes one defender miss, but you see that gang tackling, 2, 3, 4 jerseys all surrounding Isaiah Totten. 2 coaches who know each other extremely well. They've known each other for 26 years. Trey Oliver in his first year guiding his alma mater. He coached under Rod Broadway for a few seasons, coached alongside Sam Washington. Just talked about the respect that he has for Sam Washington on that opposite sideline, and they feel they have the right guy in place to revamp and get this North Carolina Central program back up and winning. Over 40 freshmen this year on the roster, and he's planning on bringing a bunch more during the upcoming recruiting cycle. Play clock winding down, and Oliver is going to have to burn a timeout.
Prior to the play clock expiring, timeout, North Carolina Central. 30-second timeout.
Trey Oliver and Sam Washington going back through the years. In fact, it was Washington who met with Oliver when he was a young student. He recruited him to play at North Carolina Central. Obviously, this was when Washington was one of the coaches at NCCU, so they built their relationship as a player-coach back in the 90s, and then they continued that relationship with Oliver joining Washington's staff, Broadway staff, when Washington was an assistant at North Carolina A&T. Now here they are for the very first time on opposite sidelines. Sam Washington told us, he said, even back in Trey Oliver's playing days, he knew he was going to be a coach, was an excellent communicator. 3rd down and 14. They need to get it up to the 38-yard line. Saw Richard convert just a few moments ago. Can he do it again here? Blitz comes off the edge. Richard stiff arms the missile. Flag flies, and he will run the boundary side, escorted out of bounds. Devin Harrell was in the pursuit. Let's see what the flag's all about.
And this is what you're doing. You've got a young quarterback. You bring a variety of blitz packages. You have to make him uncomfortable. He is a young player. He still has to learn to throw against and read the pre-snap blitz packages. So you want to get him confused. Make him think a little bit.
Officials still discussing Jason Soitzman as our referee.
Personal foul. Grabbing the face mask. Defense. 15 yards from the end of the run. 1st down.
So how about this for us? North Carolina Central has given up already 3 tackle for losses, and yet they've converted 2 3rd and longs on this opening drive.
Well, one is the quarterback scrambling, getting outside the pocket, seeing the lane, and getting the 1st down. And the second is keeping the play alive. If he doesn't keep the play alive, you maybe don't get that face mask penalty. So Richard has done a good job so far under 2 pressurized situations.
Now the question becomes, can they get some things figured out on 1st and 2nd down and avoid these 3rd and longs? Carolina Central offense that has been inconsistent, a large part because of the injuries on that offensive line. We'll talk more about that later. Quick throw out toward the sideline, looking for E.J. Hicks, goes incomplete.
And because of this aggressive defense by North Carolina A&T, the quick game is going to be something that they're susceptible to. You want to spread them out. You see North Carolina Central going with 4 wides in a lot of their formations. What they're doing, they're spreading this defense out. What that does is that creates lanes and seams for your tight ends, for your backs to get up the field, and for the quarterback to find somewhere to go with the football.
I think North Carolina Central is doing in this first quarter, they're using all of that play clock as they try to shorten this game. Totten on a misdirection has nowhere to go. He is shadowed right out of the box. It was Leon Smalls, the first one to greet him.
And although Totten only got 3 yards on that play, I thought that was a good play for Totten because he was stopped for a loss initially. but you saw his escapability. He's able to escape a would-be tackler, bounce it to the outside, find a little seam, and fall forward.
So here we go again, another third down. 3rd and 7 for Richard. The Eagles have converted twice on 3rd down. Totten flashes on the flat. They go toward the opposite side with the screen, and it is stuffed at the point of attack. Excellent job by the true freshman, Jacob Roberts, reading the play.
And it needs to be a better job by the tackle on the outside. Watch number 73. He gets out there, but you've got to block somebody. You got to find work. You can't get out there and have a no-hitter. You've got to put a hat on a hat. If he puts a hat on a hat, maybe the back is able to get up the field.
So after a couple of first downs, it is John Picaro on the punt. This one will bounce inside the 20. Corey Banks backs away from it, and it's touched dead at the 13-yard line. A long, storied history between these two schools, separated by less than 60 miles. The 91st all-time meeting, North Carolina A&T leads the all-time series. The Aggies have won the last 2 meetings, including last year in Durham, where they just manhandled North Carolina Central 45-0. And that is what Trey Oliver is trying to change, and it starts today on a rainy, soggy afternoon in Greensboro. Aggie offense goes to work from the 28-yard line. Banks in motion. The running back is Jermaine Martin. And Martin on first down, testing the waters over the left side. He falls ahead for a yard. Khalil Carter, the senior out of Austell, Georgia, he certainly waited his turn, and the young man has performed in his first year as the starter. Just tremendous decision-making. Excellent poise, just the 3 interceptions this year. His passing yards over 1,600, and he truly is a leader on the field. Sat behind the record-setting quarterback Lamar Raynard, and now to the air, he hits Elijah Bell, and it's a foot race, and they won't catch him. Bell to the 5, touchdown, North Carolina A&T. 68 yards.
And this is exactly what North Carolina A&T wanted to do. When they see man coverage, when you see North Carolina Central bring everybody in the box, and you've got Bell on the outside, they go with the play fake, and everybody comes in, the linebackers, and there's nobody left. Once Bell gets the reception, there's nothing in the third level to stop him, and he's able to run to get the touchdown. That is what you have to look at all afternoon. Because they are so effective running the football, Central is going to have to pack the box to stop that run. And when you do that, you're going to get man coverage on the outside.
The snap is dropped, and it will be a missed point after for North Carolina A&T. But it is senior day in Greensboro. 2 critical seniors. Carter hooking up with the record-setting receiver Elijah Bell. The Aggies fire the opening salvo.
Signal reaches farther or is more reliable, and it's built 5G ready.
ESPN College Football is presented by McDonald's.
Celebrating 150 years of college football, we welcome you back to Greensboro, and this rivalry dating all the way back to 1924. You take a look at some of the longest rivalries in college football. Harvard and Yale colliding today back in 1875. Just down the highway, North Carolina, Wake Forest. You look up and down that list, some storied rivalries just like the one we're enjoying here in North Carolina today.
Well, once again, records are out the door. These are those games that you love to hate to play, especially when you're the team that's expected to win, because you know you can come in overconfident and you have a ball club that can play spoiler, especially in a situation like this for North Carolina A&T trying to get back to the Celebration Bowl. For North Carolina Central, for the fan base, for the alumni, for the seniors, this will be an awesome way to go out eliminating.
Illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 57. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Eliminating their rivalry's opportunity to go back and play for another national championship.
Lack of discipline, lack of execution, the main antagonist this year for Trey Oliver in this North Carolina Central offense. The most penalties at the FCS level, 90 yards per game. And when you have a young freshman quarterback and you're putting him in those types of spots, it's tough to recover. So for the second straight drive, they start inside their own 20. From the 14, Davius Richard and the Eagles go to work. Richard's going to take a shot down the sideline. Receiver out there, but he overshot him, incomplete. He was looking for Travion Pratt.
And a good job that time by the offensive line to give Richard the time he needed to look down the field. If they can get a hole like they did on that play and be stout at the point of attack and slow down this North Carolina A&T pass rush, Richard will have opportunities to go down the field.
Offensive line has been banged up. They've only had the same combination of starters once in back-to-back games this year. It's a versatile unit. Guys playing out of position. Here comes a linebacker blitz. Richard down the seam, overshot his man, incomplete.
And that's the matchup that they felt like they can take advantage of. The middle linebacker covering their receivers. You saw right there down the seam, they had what they wanted with Deshaun Stevens. Richard just put a little bit too much on the football. Once again, you have to remember he's a young player. This is a wet football. It's cold out here. So you have to know how to throw a wet football. So he'll get used to that as he continues to play throughout this game and continues to progress in his career. But it's a very difficult football to throw when it's wet and it's cold.
Richard just 1 of 5 in this first quarter. 3rd down and 10. A&T brings 4. Richard feeling the heat, and he'll try to have to improvise again. Bangs off one would-be tackler, but then help arrives. Jacob Roberts again. And this will set up a punting situation for North Carolina Central.
And you see Richard right here. He has a little bit of time, but the offensive tackles got beat to the inside, and Richard saw a defender flash across his face, which flushed him out of the pocket, and he's trying to get as many yards as possible. I like the decision-making so far by Richard. Some of the things that he needs to work on when they get back out on the field is taking a little bit of mustard off that football. He's got some open receivers when his offensive line is able to block for him, but he needs to take a little bit off the football and understand how to get it to his playmakers in a position where they can make a play for him.
John Picaro on to punt for the second time, end over end, and a fair catch signal by Banks. North Carolina A&T out to the quick start. The Aggies take over in good shape, and we return to Greensboro.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
North Carolina A&T out to a 6-0 lead, 8:28 to go in this first quarter. What makes this rivalry one of the best in college football is not only the proximity of the two schools, but the success that they have enjoyed. At least one team has been nationally ranked in each of the last 5 meetings. This year, that torch lies with North Carolina A&T, a series that goes all the way back to 1924. They actually took a year off. They used to play games down the interstate in Raleigh at Carter Finley Stadium, but then they made the switch, and now they alternate between the two campuses. First down from the 50-yard line. They will run the jet sweep, and this is Corey Banks, the transfer from South Carolina, the speedster, squirming his way ahead for 4 yards. It was an offense last week that ran 63 plays against Bethune-Cookman, and you see the damage they inflicted on the ground. Both Jermaine Martin and Keshawn Baker running wild against that Wildcat D.
Well, that's what they want to do. They want to overwhelm you with their rushing attack. And when you've got Carter and you've got Martin and their ability to run through arm tackles, it's very difficult for a defense to stop them.
North Carolina A&T using their first timeout.
A&T, their first charge timeout, 30-second timeout.
And you see the effects of that rushing attack by North Carolina A&T on the touchdown to Bell. When they went with the ball fake, all of the linebackers came flying up towards the line of scrimmage because all week long they've been practicing to hit those seams, hit those gaps, not allow Martin or Carter to get going north and south, because when they get going, they're so difficult to bring down. But when you do that, you get one-on-one coverage on the outside, and you saw what happened with Bell.
It's a proud program that Sam Washington has taken over in year 2. Greensboro 4, Elvin Bethia, the tradition, the stories, the alumni who have rolled through Greensboro through the years. After the timeout, 2nd down and 6. They'll play a little power football with Martin, and he pushes ahead, and we'll have 1st down yardage cut down at the 40.
And if you see what they did on that play, they brought the jet sweep action back across the formation. So what that does, because they just ran that play, it makes the linebackers step up, and now you've got Martin coming downhill. So it'll be a game of cat and mouse throughout the afternoon. The linebackers for North Carolina Central have to do a really good job of reading, getting their pre-snap reads.
And that's what has defensive coordinator Freddie Autry-Lindsay a little bit concerned. This linebacking core just depleted for North Carolina Central because of the injuries. They have 4 linebackers suited up today, so you can bet North Carolina A&T will challenge them. Martin gets 5 more yards on a surge from that left side of the offensive line.
And Martin's one of those backs I like to call one of those dirty yards. He gets those dirty yards. Watch Martin. He's at the line of scrimmage, he gets hit, but he falls forward for about 5 additional yards. Those are the dirty yards, the yards that a lot of backs don't get. A lot of backs go down when they get hit. Martin continues to fall forward.
Bring in the fullback, William Simpson, and he will provide the fake on the lead block as Carter keeps it. Carter stumbles ahead for another 1st down. Patrick Connor bringing him down, but not before the Aggies move the sticks.
And it's such a difficult offense to stop because you see Carter right there with the RPO. He read the defensive end crashing down on the back because they've had success with that dive play. He keeps the ball and is able to get up the field to get another 1st down.
First rush of the day for Khalil Carter, an exceptionally strong individual, one of the stronger quarterbacks in the weight room that A&T has had. He'll use some of that strength as he dives ahead to the 19. Jerome Foster, who has switched his uniform number to number 1 today, in on the stop, but not before Carter gets 5.
Watch this tackle right here. He gets up and he stalks, and that's what you want to do. You stalk, cover him up. You don't have to knock him out. You just want to cover him up. And watch how the back is able to cut off of him. Right there. That's all you have to do. Too often you see guys coming flying out, and as an offensive lineman, you have to know that the linebackers are a tad bit of a better athlete than you are, so you've got to stalk block. You get those feet to chopping, you cover him up, and you allow the backs to cut off of you.
They will run behind number 46. That's William Simpson. The move by Martin. See you later. Touchdown. Jermaine Martin finds the end zone.
And that was a great run by Martin, but I think it was a better play by number 74, DeJure Simpson. Watch him get to the outside, and he's going to get up in this lane, and he's going to open all of this up, and watch Martin come right behind him, and he's able to get to the end zone. You see number 74, he opens it up, and watch Martin. You see he's able to cut right off of that, and he goes untouched to the end zone. The offensive linemen for North Carolina A&T are doing a very good job of getting to the second-level defenders and covering them up. And when you cover those guys up, now you put your backs in a position to be one-on-one with the defensive backs.
Martin finds the end zone. A&T dominating early.
You have to watch out for Jermaine Martin, one of the top rushers in FCS. He gets the ball again. This time he's got a hold along the right side. Jermaine Martin, he's got the stride. Nobody in front of him but the end zone. The score for the Aggies. The line quickly again. Martin this time, one man to beat, and he's in again. He's carrying them on his back. They're up 13-0. Jermaine Martin, you can't stop him. Jermaine Martin with his 3rd touchdown of the game, and he set a single-season rushing touchdown record for the Aggies with that one.
4 rushes, 35 yards, his 20th touchdown of the year as Jermaine Martin and North Carolina A&T sending an early statement. With that last rushing touchdown by Martin for the second straight week. He breaks a Tariq Cohen mark. This time it's for total touchdowns in a single season. All 20 of his scores coming on the ground for the Coastal Carolina transfer. Redshirt junior, a finalist for the Peyton Award this year, and rightfully so.
And when you watch film of Jermaine Martin, you don't think one of the best running backs in FCS. You think one of the best running backs in college football. This young man is a game player, a game breaker. He can win football games for you with his ability.
So trouble brewing, and it's a low snap. It goes from bad to worse. Totten picks it up, and then he absorbs the punishment back at the 29-yard line. A loss of 12. And, of course, we were talking about the issues on this offensive line. They've had to rotate a lot of bodies.
Well, also, when you look at what we see with offensive sets nowadays, with everybody going to the spread set, you don't very often see quarterbacks under center. And in a bad weather game like this, you want to be able to put your quarterback under center to make sure the center-quarterback exchange is a good one.
So Madena Ozieke Okeke, the center, he was the starter a year ago at center. They wanted to play him at guard this year, but unable to do so because of the injuries as Richard throws incomplete, trying to hook up with Freeman out of the backfield.
And I think Richard needs to settle down right now. He's been off with all of his passes so far this afternoon. He needs to just be calm, get his feet set, and not throw off of his back foot. Step into those throws. The offensive line, they've given him a little bit of time to throw the football, but he has to step through, go through his progressions, and not rush it.
Keep an eye on number 50, Devin Harrell. He has been able to find his way to Richard in this first quarter. He's the defensive end in the stand-up position. Very aggressive player. Here he comes, third down. Picked up nicely for a while, but there's Harrell trying to hang on, and down goes Richard back at the 22-yard line.
And the left tackle, number 73, Ricky Lee, you got to keep fighting on the outside. You cannot give up. You got to keep fighting. You got to punch. You can't catch. Watch number 73. He's right there. Keep fighting, keep punching. Once you give ground, now you're giving the defense what he wants. If you keep fighting and keep punching, you now allow Richard to step back, get outside of contain, and be able to continue to look down the field. You never know until the whistle is blown where the offensive player is. You've got to keep fighting on the outside.
30th sack of the year by this Aggie defense, the 5th sack for the sophomore Harrell. And on the return, a wave of blockers for Banks, using his speed, tight-roping the near side, and he will step out of bounds inside the 20. A return of 29 yards, and North Carolina A&T clicking on all cylinders.
Well, they've got everything working. And you see right here, he's got blockers in front of him. He's got a lane to go down the field. They did a good job of getting him out of bounds, because if they don't, he's going to go in for the easy score. Right now, North Carolina Central has to try and settle in defensively. They've got to get a stop. You don't want to allow this thing to get out of hand in the first quarter.
This offense has had the football twice. They have scored twice. A quick strike on the pass to Bell, and then that 6-play, 50-yard drive on their last series, and now their best starting shape of the afternoon. Sniffing the red zone. Banks, they say, stepped out right at the 20. First down. Khalil Carter in this offense. Play fake by Carter. Plenty of time to pick and choose. Directing traffic, floats it toward the end zone, and it's incomplete. Double coverage. They were looking for Leslie. Brian Mills with the coverage for North Carolina Central.
That's a good job by the Central defense. A dangerous throw by Carter. There was nowhere for him to go with the football. I thought he maybe should have tucked it and tried to get as many yards as possible, because they had that covered up and good pressure on him, not allowing him to have all the time in the world. He got outside the pocket, tried to direct his players to get open, but nobody could.
Brian Mills, one of the top cover corners in the MEAC. He has 5 interceptions, which leads the conference. Second down, they go back to the reliable ground game, and for the first time, it's Kashawn Baker. Baker coming off a 2-touchdown performance last week. Just an excellent change of pace back from what you get with Martin.
Well, Baker's more of a quick twitch type of back. You see the jump cut ability. He gets into the hole. He's able to bounce and jump out to the outside. So you've got now a three-headed monster to deal with: Carter, Martin, and now Baker.
Third down, and taking a shot, wobbler toward the end zone. It's caught by Bell. Did he get a foot in? No, he was out of bounds.
And although he was out of bounds, that is an awesome catch by Bell. You saw him able to adjust his body and turn in midair. Let's see if he got a foot down. It's going to be an interesting replay right here. No, he's out. I think he's clearly out. That's a good call by the official on the outside.
The referee, Jason Soitzman, having some issues with the microphone, but they are going to go upstairs and take a look, as will we.
Let's see right here. He gets possession, and I think that left foot is out. Yes. The right foot is out before he's able to drag that left foot.
Part of that right foot out of bounds. So the call will stand, it looks like, and Elijah Bell, who has had a remarkable career, three-time All-MEAC performer, 8 100-yard games throughout his career. Just 3 receptions away from becoming one of 6 players to have 200 receptions in this MEAC conference. And they talked about his leadership, not just what he does performance-wise on the field, but the presence he has inside that locker room as well.
And I tell you what, I think it's awesome for him. He had an injury-plagued season last year, so to be able to come back and have a good season this year is great.
So as expected, Jason Soitzman says the call stands, which is incomplete. And now they will turn to their reliable kicker, Noel Ruiz.
And after the big kickoff, even if they give up a field goal, I think this is a good series for the defense for Central, because it still will remain a 2-score ball game if they're able to get this field goal.
See the percentage by Ruiz. He's connected on his last 10. This one in difficult elements, a 35-yarder for the junior from Wilson, North Carolina. Kick is on the way. Plenty of leg, and he drills it. Splits the upright. And North Carolina A&T ups the ante 16-0. Don't forget, Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app, we'll have the exclusive reveal of the next college football playoff top 25 rankings. Reese and the guys will break them down from top to bottom, have coaches' reactions, as well as a live interview with committee chairman Rob Mullins. That's all happening Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
And Sean, right now it's a tale of 2 cities. For North Carolina Central, they have -2 total yards, but for North Carolina A&T, 124 yards. So if I'm the head coach for North Carolina Central and I see we've got -2 and they've got 124 yards, but we're still only down 2 scores, I'm okay. I feel like, okay, we're still in it, but they've got to get something positive going. I think they need to do some short passes, something to get Richard going, get him a completion or 2 to start to build his confidence and show him that he can pass the ball in this bad weather game. But they also need to get that rushing attack going with Totten. They've got to open up some holes and give him some cracks in that defense to get up the field and get positive yards.
Well, this is a positive start if you're North Carolina Central. They're going to get the football in good position. And here comes some pushing and shoving, some of the emotions running high, and both coaches talked about it. Controlled discipline, especially Sam Washington and North Carolina A&T. They addressed it each day in practice. Trey Oliver talked to his team about controlling the emotion of the moment.
And you know, I don't care what a coach says. You're not going to be able to control the emotion when you've got a rivalry game, a team that is so close in vicinity to the other team proximity-wise. You're going to have chippiness. What was interesting when we talked to both coaches, Coach Washington said they were coming out throwing haymakers from the first play of the ball game. And just when Central has a break on the bad kick, now they get a personal foul and they move the ball back.
So they waste an opportunity to get the football in good position in the lower hand of the screen. That late push right there, and the 15-yarder assessed. And Trey Oliver has seen too much of that throughout the course of the season for Central.
Yeah, but that's football. I don't agree with that penalty right there. It's football. I mean, come on.
They'll stack them up 2 by 2. Formation left and right. Richard tries to get this offense lit up a little bit. They go on the ground, and there is nothing there. Michael Branch again practically could have been handed the football. Latrell Collier saw big number 5 too right in his mirror when he was given the leather.
And I mean, if you're not going to block him, I mean, he's right there in the backfield as the ball is being handed off to Collier. Collier can't do anything but try and wrap up and squeeze the football and make sure he doesn't lose possession.
Not pretty offensively here in the opening 13 minutes for North Carolina Central. Second down and 12 for the Eagles.
And with this aggressive front, maybe North Carolina Central should look to run the screen game.
Richard pressure, back foot throw, had to get rid of it early, and it's incomplete. Simply did not have the time to set and throw.
Well, what North Carolina A&T is doing is what you do when you're facing a young quarterback. You put pressure on him. You bring pressure every play. You make him think every play. Every pre-snap read, you want him to see something different. The offensive linemen have to do a better job with their pre-snap reads of making the calls for the middle linebacker, identifying the middle linebacker, and picking up those blitz packages to give their young quarterback time to look down the field.
Third down and long. Here comes pressure up the middle, and Richards somehow escapes the first wave, and then he is jumped on back close to the original line of scrimmage. Roberts drops him, but again, pressure generated by a 4-man rush.
And when you get pressure on a 4-man rush, you've got 7 back in coverage. The quarterback has nowhere to go with the football. Once again, the offensive line, they've got to do a better job. They've got to help their young quarterback out. They've got to be stout at the point of attack. They've got to punch. Too much catching by the offensive lineman. When you catch, you give up your body. You allow the defender to play off of you. When you punch them off and you keep them at bay.
John Picaro on to punt for the 4th time, and there was movement up front. Let's see if North Carolina A&T was enticed. See if that left side of the line flinched. Going to be the 3rd penalty in this opening quarter against North Carolina Central. So Picaro to punt just in front of his goal line, trying to angle that kick away from the dangerous Corey Banks. Takes a nice baseball hop. Banks on the scoop, trying to dance toward the near side. Flag flies, and a nice job by the Eagles special teams unit. North Carolina Central downfield. It's Chuck Manning. See what the flag is all about. It'll be an illegal block in the back, the preliminary call against North Carolina A&T. The MEAC comes down to 4 teams. Really, it's just one if North Carolina A&T takes care of business today. A win, and they are into the Celebration Bowl. December 21st, a chance to win their 3rd consecutive HBCU national title. South Carolina State taking on Norfolk State as we speak. Bethune-Cookman technically still with a shot, but again, it's A&T who has all the cards now. They control the deck. And that's exactly what a team wants. Sam Washington talked about it. When you put on the pads, you go through those summer workouts. This is the moment that you play for, a chance to seal it where you control your own fate. South Carolina State has scored in the first quarter, a 7-0 lead on Norfolk State. That game over in Norfolk, Virginia. Double clutch. They get it to Elijah Bell. He runs through an arm tackle. drags the defender out past the 45, up to the 46-yard line, and Elijah Bell having some fun in his final home game in Greensboro.
And you see what North Carolina Central's doing. They're playing a variety of defense. They're playing a 3-3-5 look right now.
Elijah Bell with a big first quarter. Senior day for North Carolina A&T. The rain has not dampened the fun. Central will try to find some traction. Bell has a touchdown. Martin's found 6. Aggies on top, 16-7.
At T-Mobile.
Welcome back to college football presented by McDonald's. A dominant 15 minutes of football for the 24th ranked North Carolina A&T Aggies. They lead North Carolina Central 16-0 as we start quarter number 2. From midfield, a gaping hole for Jermaine Martin. And Martin has number 2, 50 yards, touchdown.
Now, what's interesting about this play is because of the RPOs, because of Carter's ability to run the football, I want you to watch right here in this area. You're going to see a defender just stop right there, paying attention to Carter, and you see Martin just go right by him to the end zone. That's because of their ability with that RPO and because of Carter's ability to run the football. The defenders react to the quarterback. He got caught staring at the quarterback, and Martin just ran right by him.
Jermaine Martin entered today leading the country in yards per carry, averaging over 7.5 yards per touch. Well, guess what? He's adding to that total today. Martin with his second touchdown. Now 5 carries for 90 yards, and he has ripped off a 50-yard scamper and blocking up front, just setting the tone.
And you see right there, number 99, Chuck Manning is just standing there because he has to watch the quarterback. He has quarterback responsibility on that play because of Carter's ability to get to the outside on that RPO and keep the football, pull it out and keep it. So he's doing his job, but at the same time, you've got to be able to react when you've got a running back like Jermaine Martin, who is so powerful and so good.
Take a look at the running backs that North Carolina A&T has produced over the past decade. Martin this year, the 9th Aggie running back to cross over 1,000 yards in the last 10 years. And he really is a hybrid when you look back at their last 2 terrific backs. Of course, Tariq Cohen and then the power of Marquell Cartwright was phenomenal. He's a hybrid of those 2 backs. He's really a do-it-all back. He has the speed, the breakaway speed. He can run you over. He's an exceptional pass protector. He really is the complete package.
Well, he's got all the intangibles that you look for, and that's why I said, as opposed to considering him one of the best backs in FCS, we need to start talking about Martin as one of the best backs in college football. He produces, and you see what the young men that have come out of this program have been able to do at the next level. Tariq Cohen being one of those guys. He's one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, and I think Martin has a chance to play on Sunday if he continues to do what he's been doing so far in his career here at North Carolina A&T.
Well, this game can really get out of hand if North Carolina Central can't get something figured out on offense. This will be Richard trying to use his feet to get to the outside. He is escorted out of bounds by Joseph Stuckey. Stuckey's really hit his stride over the second half of the season, the sophomore out of the Milford Academy, Hillside, New Jersey. Take a look at what A&T has been able to do today. Just the 4 yards allowed. They already have 6 TFLs. This is a tough group to find consistent yards against. And that really has been their trademark. And a big reason why they're in a position to claim another MEAC championship. Second down and 9. Hand it off to Isaiah Totten. And he stood up at the 30-yard line, and the Aggies are bringing it. There's another injured lineman back behind the play. Devin Jordan is down for North Carolina Central. So we'll take an injury timeout. A depleted offensive line suffering yet another injury. We'll be back with more from Greensboro right after this. Why is this rivalry so bitter? 55 miles separate these two universities along Interstate 85. The short trek from Durham today for North Carolina Central. So many family members, friends. Even in the same family, you'll have some go to North Carolina Central. The other half of the family goes to North Carolina A&T. It truly is bragging rights for the HBCU.
And those are the families that sit on one sideline for one half, and they go to the other sideline to support their other young men for the second half.
Well, the ones on the Aggie sideline having a little bit more fun right now. Richard will try to change that. He's going to tuck it and run, and Davius Richard should have enough for the first down. Forward progress out past the 35 up to the 36-yard line. And really, they haven't had much offensive success, but when they have had the limited times, it's been Richard running the football.
Well, Richard does a good job. You see him keeping his eyes down the field. He's trying to find somewhere to go with the football. And when he sees there's nothing there and he sees a lane, he squeezes the football and gets up the field north and south. That is not something you see very often from young quarterbacks. They usually try to squeeze it in and make a bad throw, but a good job by the true freshman, Richard.
6 carries, 22 yards for the freshman. Richard will fling this one, no time to throw, and it's incomplete.
And once again, North Carolina A&T is able to get pressure with 4. When they're able to get pressure with 4, they've got 7 back into coverage, and there won't be many places for Richard to go with the football. Central has to do a better job of blocking up front, maintaining their blocks, and allowing for their receivers to break open.
Devin Harrell, Michael Branch, number 52, both having a big first half. Second down and 10. This is a design draw, and it doesn't fool anyone. He is met at the line of scrimmage. Alex Fumba, who was a monster last year for Fort Scott Community College and the Greyhounds, and he has had a successful transition into that will linebacker position.
If North Carolina Central could get some blocking at the point of attack, I think that North Carolina A&T is susceptible for a crossing route, but you have to allow the receiver to get across the formation and allow the quarterback to get it to him when he's able to turn north and south. But it all starts with that offensive line being able to block at the point of attack and be stout and not allow pressure to come up in Richard's face.
Third down and 11. Pressure comes, and they're going to get to him for the second time today. He is sacked back at the 31-yard line. Leon Smalls with a second sack of the year. The former linebacker who's moved up to D-end, able to grab Richard and bring him down.
Well, there's nowhere for Richard to go. If you watch on this play, he's got pressure coming from the outside, and he's got pressure coming up the middle. So he can't even step up in the pocket or go side to side to try and get the ball down the field. They've got to give him an opportunity to throw the football, but there's nothing there for him when he sets his feet.
Good kick, line drive by Picaro, well done. This will come to a rest on the natural grass at the 27. So North Carolina A&T, every time they've touched it, they've had points. They'll try to keep it going against their rival from Durham.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
Speaking of mayhem, that's what Tariq Cohen did in his 4 years in Greensboro. He created mayhem for the defense. There wasn't an angle not to his liking as he just sliced and diced his way to 1,000-yard campaigns, eventually the 2016 draft pick to the Chicago Bears.
It was like watching a video game.
It really was. North Carolina Central on first down, able to slow down Martin. The brave souls enjoying this one on the Aggie side. Wet, chilly weather, and what's so crazy about it, 24 hours ago, we both flew in. It was absolutely gorgeous yesterday, but Mother Nature always rules the roost. Umbrellas, raincoats prevalent among the fans here today enjoying this rivalry game.
And it should be noted that the fans are out here and supporting both ball clubs.
Neil Carter, second down and 11. Hasn't had to throw the football a lot because of that ground game. He's just thrown 4 passes, 2 for 4, 77 yards. They'll try Martin again. Flag flies, and Martin has stood up. See what the flag is. Deontay Fair, the team's top tackler, in on the stop.
Offside. Defense, number 47. 5-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
It's Khalid Blunt. So again, when they seem to try to get some type of traction, it's a penalty that takes away any momentum.
Well, mental errors will kill you every time. You can't give up yards to a team that has been able to get yards on pretty much every offensive play that they've run.
So after the penalty, this will take it up to the 31. Second down and 6. Carter on the RPO is going to throw, and running uncontested down the sideline as Corey Banks stays on his feet and then is pushed out violently, but not before he takes it inside the 10.
And once again, because of their ability to run the football, because of Carter's ability to pull that ball out, you see he pulls it out. Now everybody goes towards him because he's been running the football. And what does that allow? That allows for Banks to get down the field. And if Carter would have led him on that play, he probably would still be running and they'd be celebrating a touchdown. But you see the balance by Banks to get an extra or additional 10 yards when he had contact.
52 yards in the completion to Corey Banks. Followed his former teammate at South Carolina, Antoine Wilder, to Greensboro. Quick throw over the middle, and it goes through the hands, incomplete. He was looking for Elijah Bell.
And I think Elijah Bell was looking for the safety because he should have caught that football. And I think he's a little angry with himself right there. He saw the safety flashing across, and I think those alligator arms got a little bit attached to him. Watch him right here. He's got the catch, but he sees that safety coming across, number 23, Manny Smith. And I think he realized, okay, maybe I don't want to catch this football. After the fact, you say, okay, I should have caught it. But he got alligator arms on that play.
Smith is a hard-hitting, good-looking freshman out of Laurel Hill, Scotland High School. Scotland County has produced a lot of good talent throughout the years. Second down give, and there is nothing there for Martin.
Now, here's an opportunity for this North Carolina Central defense to get off the field, force them into a field goal attempt, but they have to have a good third down play.
So Cyrus Standback, one of the leaders up front, chatting with Martin post whistle. Third down and 10. Checking down, looking for the signals from the A&T sideline. Play clock down to 1. And let's see if he got the snap off. Pressure off the edge. Carter escapes that, but pursuit defense by North Carolina Central will drop him at the 14. Wasn't quite sure he got that snap off before the clock hit 0. Standback, who we were just talking about, able to ride him down. And let's see if they send out Noel Ruiz to try to settle for 3.
And a good job initially by Jesse Malit to get pressure on Carter and flush him out of the pocket.
Ruiz, who hit from 35 earlier today, this one officially 31 yards. The reliable right leg of Noel Ruiz. What a weapon to have. Kick is on the way, and this one is no good. 11 consecutive field goals made. Comes to a stop, and just maybe a little momentum shifting toward North Carolina Central.
Untada, tadoff, tadan.
Freshman quarterback Davius Richard has been running for his life in this first half at his first ever Aggie Eagle Classic.
But one of the things I like about Richard, he keeps his eyes down the field, trying to find somewhere to go with the football, but he also realizes when he doesn't have anywhere, get as many yards as you can and get down or get out of bounds. Don't take any extra contact because these guys are trying to tear your head off. But so far, so good with his decision making. He just has to squeeze the football and take a little bit off of it because he's got some open receivers.
So a new quarterback in, and Micah Zanders to lead this offense for North Carolina Central. Zanders has been banged up this year. He was injured early in the season, a hand issue. He came in last week, played one snap, and that was it. A running quarterback. You see the numbers. He's appeared in 5 games, a little more than 50%. No touchdown passes, but he is a quarterback who can beat you with his legs. And a situation where Trey Oliver might be giving the young freshman Richard a quick blow, a quick break, just to see if they can light some light in this offense right now.
One thing it also does, it allows Richard to sit on the sideline with the coaching staff and get coached up a little bit. He gets to see, from the sideline, a different point of view, a different angle, and try to determine what North Carolina A&T is doing to make them so successful with getting pressure on him. It also allows him to see what angles he can use to try to get down the field with the football. You want to get him settled in. You don't want to put too much on the young man. So I understand pulling him out. What'll be interesting to see if he comes back in when they come back for another series offensively.
Trey Oliver in this offense, 10 positive plays, 7 incomplete passes, 9 negative plays in this first half. Just 2 of 7 on third downs today, North Carolina Central, and it's a draw for Zanders. Now he will throw on the run, and there was nothing there. E.J. Hicks is as close as they could find in the vicinity, but there are flags, multiple flags on the play.
That penalty is declined. 4th down.
Robert Mitchell, the left guard / center, he plays both positions. He doesn't like the call. The incompletion will stand, and a familiar sight in this first half as the Eagles are forced to punt. So not much of a better fate for Micah Zanders on that drive.
And once again, it continues to start up front with the offensive line. Can you protect your quarterback? Can you give him the time necessary to look down the field?
Coming after that kick, Piccaro gets it off. Flag is down as Piccaro was knocked down. And maybe a break coming for North Carolina Central. Ball was touched dead at the 34, but A&T was geared up. They were coming after the kick, and Piccaro limps his way to the sideline. 43-yard punt. This one's coming back.
Well, I don't know if they got the plant foot. If they did not get the plant foot, it'll only be a 5-yard
Running
penalty.
into the kicker, number 38, defense. The penalty's declined. 1st down.
They declined that penalty. As Forrest mentioned, it was not roughing. It was running into the kicker, so the minor infraction. And Piccaro actually with a pretty good kick.
And you see they got the leg that's up in the air. That's the leg that they hit. If they would have gotten that plant foot, then they would have called that a personal foul, and that would have been roughing the kicker, and that would have been at the 15-yard and an automatic 1st down. And it was close, but I think from the vantage point that the official threw the flag was, that's all he could see was the leg up in the air, as opposed to them clipping just a little bit of that plant foot.
Khalil Carter, 3 for 6 through the air. He has that long touchdown to Bell. Plus the 4 rushes. Just doesn't make mistakes. When you watch the game film, excellent decision maker. Learned a lot from his good buddy Lamar Raynard as he broke a lot of records at North Carolina A&T. Cutback ability left and right, that scat back type maneuvering by Kashawn Baker, and they just hit you in different waves.
And I'm an offensive lineman, and I tell you what, watch number 74, DeJure Simpson. He comes around the edge, and he blocks a guy all the way down the field. I love this by this young man. Watch number 74. This is all you ask for. He gets around the edge, boom, he gets on top of the defender, and he's pushing, and he's pushing, and he's pushing. He's not giving up. That's what you look for from your offensive linemen when they're pulling down the field.
And that's not what you look for if you're Steven Stokes. And a huge hole for Baker. Makes a move and is finally caught from behind. A touchdown saving tackle by Fair. And Kashawn Baker has A&T in business. Man, this line is opening up holes.
And it's not always just the line. Watch William Simpson, number 46, right here. He gets a clean-out block right here that opens up the hole for the back Baker to get up the field. Watch him right here. Boom. Right there. That's all you need. These guys are doing an excellent job of covering up these defenders at the second level and covering up on their blocks.
Carter will keep it. Splits through a tight sandwich up ahead to the 16-yard line. It's fair in on another stop, but that's never a good thing when those safeties are the first ones making contact with the ball carrier.
Well, right now these offensive linemen are asserting themselves, and you see right here, once again, Carter's able to get up the field, and he's falling forward. Every rushing play for North Carolina A&T is a fall-forward play. Nobody's getting knocked back.
They knew they had a pretty good offensive line coming into the season, but they were
Snap infraction. Offense, number 55. 5-yard penalty, first down.
They were unsure of a couple of positions, but they had a leader at left tackle that they could build around in Marcus Pettiford.
Well, Pettiford has NFL potential. He's got the size, 6'4", 285 pounds. He can add a little bit more muscle bulk. But when you're talking about left tackle, you don't want the bigger, heavier guys. You want a dancing bear on the outside, and he has dancing bear ability with those long arms.
Talked about all the running backs over the past few years. They have produced some NFL linemen as well. This is Kingsley Afidi into the game for the first time. Redshirt sophomore from Charlotte. Scrape ahead for 4 yards. Gets back close to the original line of scrimmage. Jalen Fowler was the young sophomore that provided a spark last week for North Carolina A&T, but they go with Ifedi here inside the red zone. Second down and 10, the ball at the 15. It's a draw for Ifedi. Makes a move to the 10 and will be thrown ahead close to another first down. Be about a yard shy. Deontay Fair able to bring him down, and this will all be depending on the spot. Looks like about a yard shy. Fetty's certainly a running quarterback as they try to go tempo, and the referees stop it.
Prior to the snap, timeout, North Carolina Central. Their first timeout, 30-second timeout. Correction, full timeout.
North Carolina A&T pushing the tempo a little bit, and Central forced to use the timeout. Aggies knocking on the doorstep when we return to Greensboro.
And it can, oh, that's a keeper. This thing is really useful because, did I mention it shows you photos?
Celebrating 150 years of college football, we welcome you back to Greensboro, BB&T Stadium, the setting. Brave fans out here despite the weather. Rain since really 10 o'clock this morning, a soggy track, but that has not slowed down Khalil Carter and this North Carolina A&T offense. Just dominating every statistical category in this first half. And now a third down and a yard. They have the two tight ends set on third and short. They give it to the big fullback, William Simpson, and he moves ahead a first down carry for the big 290-pound fifth-year senior who scored his first career touchdown last week against Bethune-Cookman.
And come on, big fella, keep your feet up. You had another opportunity to get another rushing touchdown. You've been opening up all these holes for Jermaine Martin all season long, to the tune of 21 rushing touchdowns. Get your second one, man. Give it back to the big fella.
So if you're one of those O-linemen right now, as you see that 11th man check in late for North Carolina Central, and there goes Baker right up the skirt, touchdown. If you're one of those O-linemen, you're giving a little grief, aren't you?
Defense, number 35. That penalty's declined. Score is good.
Yeah, as an offensive lineman, he's a glorified offensive lineman. He just can run a little bit better than we all can, those guys that are on the line. So you want to see him be able to get into the end zone and do his dancing bear routine, but you got to pick those feet up. But a good job once again on the lead block, getting Baker in for the easy score.
Well, he has been powerful on those lead blocks, and that's been his trademark. has bounced on both sides of the football, was given a full scholarship. Talking about William Simpson, he was given a scholarship right before the start of the year, and it was to pave the way for guys like Baker and Martin, and he has certainly done that today.
Now, once again, watch the surge from the offensive line for North Carolina A&T. That's what we've seen all afternoon. And then the fullback, he goes up in there. And for Baker, it's pretty much finding wherever you want to go to run and get the score. Basically goes in untouched. He has an open seam to get to the end zone.
Sean Baker, the 2 touchdowns a week ago. His 4th rushing touchdown of the season. The senior from Farmville, North Carolina. Really his first significant action of his career this season, and he's fresh off his best game of his career last week, and he has found the end zone for the 2nd straight week. North Carolina A&T in control of their own destiny. A win today. Wrap up a MEAC championship for the 3rd straight year. It will put them in the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta with a chance to win their 3rd straight HBCU national title. What a run for the Aggies, and they are sending a statement today in this first half. There is nothing for North Carolina Central. Kick off your Week 12 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Countdown Crew on ESPN and the ESPN app. Randy Moss ranks this week's best college football catches, plus all access with Dak Prescott. What a year he's having, and an exclusive interview with MVP contender Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Also have early breaking stories, injury updates, and previews of each game right up to kickoff. Week 12 Monday Night Football matchup as the electrifying Lamar Jackson. The Ravens heading to L.A. to take on Aaron Donald and the Rams. The AFC North leading Ravens have won 6 straight. The 6-4 Rams come in off a nice win against the Bears Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. I think a lot of people just wait for Jared Goff to go off for the Rams and Lamar Jackson. Did you see this coming this year from him?
He's been tremendous his whole career. The first taste of Lamar Jackson for me as a Florida State guy was when he beat us up really, really bad when we went up to Louisville. But to watch his maturity and to watch how he's consistently gotten better, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do against that LA defense in LA.
Take a look at what the black quarterback has been able to do this year. Obviously with Jackson, Patrick Mahomes back and healthy. Dak Prescott having his best year, and then Watson and Russell Wilson all putting up gaudy numbers.
Well, I think for Lamar Jackson, debunking the idea that he could not play quarterback because he was so athletic. I think when you saw what Michael Vick was able to do, you saw the quarterback I blocked for in college, Charlie Ward. I love what he's doing, and he's debunking all of that. Just because you have athletic ability, you should switch positions and play wide receiver or play running back. He is a quarterback, and we see his ability out on the field.
I don't even think Lamar Jackson could have run away from that rush. Take your pick. Leon Smalls for the 2nd time. He was in the backfield, and Richard had no chance. What a first half for Trace Smalls, the senior from Charleston. Let's not forget, this was the defense that lost Darrell Johnson Jr. He was the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year, so they just continue to reload.
And with Trace Smalls, you have to remember, he was a linebacker, and they moved him to defensive end. So he has a different bit of quickness than offensive tackles are used to from the defensive end position. And he's not huge. He's 6 feet, 250 pounds. So with that, being in such short stature, he's able to get under the majority of offensive tackles and get around the edge.
Personal foul. Receiving team number 57. Late hit. 15-yard penalty. First down.
3 sacks. 9 plays for loss in this first half generated by the A&T defense. Now they will send out the offense with a couple of timeouts, a commanding lead. How aggressive do they play it here?
Right now, I think you'd be safe. You know, you've got a 30-point lead. The one thing you don't want to do deep in your own territory is give up an easy turnover and give North Carolina Central some points and give them some confidence going in at the half.
A lot of the damage done on the ground, the combination of both Baker and Martin. North Carolina A&T will take a knee.
And I think this is smart. You've got a 30-point lead. You don't want to risk injury as well because you've got an angry North Carolina Central ball club. You've got some extracurricular activity going on right now. Guys are talking. You've got one team that's winning and blowing another team out, so you may have some guys that are embarrassed, angry, frustrated, and you don't want that to boil over. You allow halftime to go over. You allow the coaching staff to get these guys refocused on what they're here to do, play a football game, not a boxing match, and you come back out and you compete in the second half.
When you head into a rivalry game like this, you never know what to expect. The numbers were certainly with North Carolina A&T as far as the advantage and the statistics. And they have not lied in this first half. They have been the dominant team. The defense pitching the shutout. Sam Washington has to be happy with his team's discipline and really happy with the execution. Senior day, Trey Oliver, in his first year at North Carolina Central, hasn't went as he planned. Martin with a couple of touchdowns. All Aggies at the intermission in the Aggie Eagle Classic.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
Celebrating 150 years of college football as we welcome you back to a wet Greensboro. North Carolina A&T in the 91st edition of the Aggie Eagle Classic in control, pitching the shutout 30-0. At the intermission, a couple of rushing touchdowns from Jameis Martin as he puts his name into another record here in Greensboro with his 20th touchdowns of the season, breaking the great Tariq Cohen's mark. Coming in December, it's the finales of the American Game and the Greatest. First on the American Game, learn the story of the Heisman and how it can define a player's career and life. And then it's the top 11 greatest Heisman debates in history. If you missed either of these series, you can catch up. All the episodes available on demand on the ESPN app. North Carolina A&T out in front. When we come back, we'll talk MEAC football. Who will represent the MEAC in the annual Celebration Bowl December 21st? It has been a steady rain in Greensboro. North Carolina A&T has not let that slow them down, though. The Aggies in control over North Carolina Central as we welcome you back to BB&T Stadium in Greensboro. Sean Kenny alongside Forrest Conley. And take a look at the MEAC scoreboard today. These are the games. Norfolk State right now trailing South Carolina State 7-0. That game late in the first half. Morgan State out in front of Howard. St. Francis, 7-0 lead on Delaware State. And the Florida Classic coming up in Orlando later on. It's Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. And Forrest coming into this game, North Carolina A&T knew they controlled their own destiny. A win today, and they are heading to the Celebration Bowl. They are well in control at the intermission. South Carolina State, Bethune-Cookman, Norfolk State, all hoping for a little bit of help.
Absolutely, and for North Carolina A&T, like you said, Sean, they were in control of their own destiny, and they have taken care of business early in this ball game, going into the half with a 30-point lead. And I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Florida A&M and the great season that they've had. It's unfortunate that they're ineligible to play in the postseason, but they have had an excellent season. They've done a really good job. They beat this North Carolina A&T ball club in a very close, very contested ball game. But for North Carolina A&T, it's another opportunity to win another championship and bring that back to the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, something they've done a good job of the past couple of years.
North Carolina A&T in control. They appear to be heading to Atlanta, and so will the blue and gold marching machine. Let's listen in some of the sounds from Greensboro.
This is the Nest Hub from Google. That's a good shot. And it can, that's a keeper. This thing is really useful because, did I mention it shows you photos?
North Carolina A&T out in front, dominating this first half in the Aggie Eagle Classic, 30-0. The 24th ranked Aggies moving closer to a Celebration Bowl berth. They came into this game force knowing they had a chance to run the football and also have the big play through the air, and they were able to do both early.
Well, you see the play action right here. Everybody comes up, and he's able to hit Elijah Bell, and he does the rest. He gets to the middle of the field and just outruns the entire Central defense. You see the playmaking ability by Bell, and here we go with Jermaine Martin, the playmaker of the day so far. He's run all over this Central defense, and Ruiz with the kick in the bad weather. Everything is just going right now for A&T. And then Martin, once again, basically untouched for 67 yards on this touchdown. He has just done everything that he wanted to do this afternoon.
Martin with a couple of touchdowns, and then his backup, Kashawn Baker, late in the first half, able to find the end zone for the second straight week. How about this defense holding the Eagles to -2 yards in the first half?
Well, they just overpowered the offensive line for North Carolina Central. The Central offensive line, they have not been able to get a surge in the running attack, and they've mostly got pressure with 4 pass rushers dropping 7 back in the coverage, and they bring the blitz to not allow the young quarterback Richard to get started. They've just done everything right and made every right decision and dominated at the point of attack.
3 sacks by this Aggie defense, both Michael Branch and Leon Smalls wreaking havoc up front. They're one-sided. The numbers all toward North Carolina A&T. 315 yards of offense, and the struggles for North Carolina Central in that first half moving the football.
Well, for Central, they've went into time of possession, so that's something positive. You've got to find something positive at the half. And one thing that the Central coaches will look at on film is to see who continues to play as they start their preparation for their spring practice and next year's ball club. So they're going to watch everybody and see who continues to play and compete throughout the rest of this ball game.
North Carolina A&T will get the football first to start the second half. The Aggies trying to keep the foot on the gas, in control over their rival from North Carolina Central.
Using new iPhone 11 Pro on AT&T, America's fastest network for iPhones. More for your thing. That's our thing.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by McDonald's. All North Carolina A&T. Will the Eagles be able to respond? Young freshman Davius Richard getting ready. Aggies out in front, 30-0 in the 91st edition of the annual Aggie Eagle Classic, a series that started back in Durham, the home of North Carolina Central, in 1924. 91st meeting all time. A&T with the edge, looking for their 3rd straight win against North Carolina Central. And what's unique about this rivalry, yes, they are separated by less than 60 miles along Interstate 85, but both of these teams have had a lot of success throughout the years. There was a stretch not that long ago when the Eagles won 3 straight over North Carolina A&T. So it goes back and forth, and a young Central team really reeling after the first 30 minutes of football today on the road.
Well, for North Carolina Central, you've got to continue to compete. You've got to continue to use this as an opportunity, a live opportunity to get better. You have to also remember this is your last football game of the season, so this is the last opportunity for you to show the coaching staff your value and what you bring to the team as far as their ability to continue to get better and be more competitive in this ball game moving forward. For North Carolina A&T, you want to keep the pressure on North Carolina Central. You don't want them to feel like they can get back into this ball game, but you also want to be healthy going into the Celebration Bowl.
Line drive, squib kick. It's taken by one of the upbacks. North Carolina A&T will have good starting position at the 47-yard line.
And I think the kicker slipped on that play.
Yeah, he did, right as he planted that foot. We were both talking at halftime, no turnovers, and that's impressive considering these are difficult elements that these guys are playing in, but we saw the slip on the kick. Carter, efficient, like he has been all season. Senior, the graduate senior, his first year as a starter, sitting behind some record-setting quarterbacks, very quietly goes about his business. Behind this very talented offensive line, they just pick up yards and chunks. Jermaine Martin, a couple of touchdowns in the first half, gets 4 yards. I think you start with this offensive line. Marcus Pettiford, DeJour Simpson, Dacry Wilson, Lawrence LeGrone, Dante Keys. That unit right there just has dictated this game.
Well, Pettiford is the name that everybody knows, but to me, the standout player so far this afternoon has been number 74, DeJour Simpson. He's pulled around and opened up some holes. I've also seen him from the backside get up to the second level and cut linebackers off to allow the back to cut back.
Speaking of cutting back, that's what Martin does, threading his way in between Eagle defenders to the 29-yard line. A 20-yard gallop as Jermaine Martin goes over the 100-yard mark today.
And one of the other big fellas, Lawrence LeGrone, number 60, was able to get around the edge and open up a lane as well. These young men have done a great job of keeping their feet. Too often you see offensive linemen, when they make contact, stop their feet. But one thing I notice about this offensive line, when they make contact, they keep their feet chopping, they keep moving, and they get good extension.
Stretch it, trying to use the speed of Banks, and he gets to the corner. 25-20. Banks thrown ahead to the 19-yard line by Brian Mills.
And once again, they continue to maintain their blocks. A lot of times, offensive linemen will be beat across their face, and they'll give up. One thing these young men have done a good job of, when they've been beat across their face, they just take the defender where he's going and allow the back to cut back underneath. That is a good job by the offensive line.
Lawrence LeGrone at right guard. He's the youngest redshirt freshman. Initially, they thought they might have to rotate at that position heading into the year, but LeGrone has performed so well. No need to, and he is a big man, 356 pounds. He has moved the pile today.
But the big fella wears it well, and he gets around the edge, and he leans on the defenders, and he lets them know, I'm going to give you all 356 pounds. I love what he's doing, and just think about his ceiling is so high. He's a freshman. He's got 3 more years to continue to develop and get better.
Yeah, this offensive line has watched some good ones through the years. Brandon Parker, the Oakland Raider offensive tackle. Micah Shaw, the MEAC offensive lineman of the year, all gone to graduation. LeGrone fits that mold. Not much for Martin. Trying to find some room over the right side.
And watch number 29, Steven Stokes. If you're going to run up there, you better put your head down and get ready to take it on, because he's going to run you over. You cannot go down there. And that's, Brian Mills, number 22. A great job by Martin leaving the contact on the defender. You got to run up there, and you've got to be ready to take on the contact when Jermaine Martin is coming through, because he's a big fella running the football.
Speed, power, the perfect blend for Martin. 3rd down and 10. Here comes a blitz by the Eagles. It's picked up. Carter started to duck up the middle, runs into a wall, and is thrown down right there at the 16-yard line. Nice job by Standback to hold his ground.
And a good job of man coverage by the defense, allowing for the pressure to get to Carter, not allowing him to get the ball down the field.
The field goal opportunity for Noel Ruiz, who's 1 for 2 today. Ruiz connected from 35 yards. This one from 33. One of the more reliable legs at the FCS level the past couple of years. The way this offense moves the football, you see why he gets so many opportunities. North Carolina A&T stretches out the lead. Aggies 33, the Eagles nothing.
How do I get shiny hair?
For shiny hair, consider incorporating finishing oil to your styling routine.
Let's take a look at today's Bringing the Flavor, presented by McDonald's. A lot of points on the board, a lot of dancing by the North Carolina A&T Aggies. They have dominated really from the opening whistle today. Some of the sights and sounds from Greensboro. Of course, it's just unfortunate the weather moved in like it did this morning. Absolutely gorgeous yesterday. That has certainly kept some people away in this historic rivalry, the 91st chapter between these two universities. Nice return out past the 35, up to the 39-yard line goes the true freshman Brandon Codrington, who, by the way, is wearing the number worn by his head coach when he was an Eagle at North Carolina Central, Trey Oliver's number 31. Rain, more rain, and even more rain later this afternoon. That is the forecast for Greensboro. Chilly conditions, 46 degrees, a wet track, soggy here at BBT Stadium, but I'll tell you what, I'm not sure that a sunny day would have given much of a different outcome for North Carolina Central. The way this offensive line has played for A&T and the way their D-line has played, it's a pretty lethal combination.
Well, when you're playing in bad condition games, the offense always has the advantage because they know where they're going with the football. As a defender, you're trying to decipher what they're doing and react. And when you've got a bad feel, when you've got bad footing, it makes it difficult at times. But when you've got a dominant offensive line like we've seen this afternoon, I don't think bad weather, good weather, nothing would have mattered. Like you just said, Sean, it's just one of those things where the offensive line is just dominated at the point of attack. They've got the surge, and they've been able to do what they want to do running the football, and it has affected North Carolina Central's ability to make plays.
Good concentration by E.J. Hicks to haul it in and then stay on his feet, keep his balance as he was spun around.
And as a coaching staff, this is what you look for. You look for the guys. I think they're looking to see if he was down, but he wasn't down. But this is what you look for as a coaching staff if you're North Carolina Central. You want to see what guys are going to continue to compete. On that play, Hicks could have just went down, very easily, but he did not. He continued to compete. He kept his balance, and he was able to get what I think will be deemed, close to being another first down for this ball club.
We both were talking this week after our conversation with North Carolina Central head coach Trey Oliver as we take another look to see if Hicks was down. And from that angle, it looks like he stayed on his feet and spun down by Bethea. We both know this is the guy that's going to get things turned around now in Durham for NCCU. He has the right temperament. You can tell he has the respect of his players and a wealth of experience as an assistant coach throughout the years building up to this moment for him.
Well, I call him is a pure blood because he played there. He loves this institution. He's everything.
Rolling on the field has been confirmed. The runner never went down, knee never touched the ground. Be 3rd and 1.
He's everything that Eagle program embodies. So he's vested in making this program a champion again. But once again, a good play by Hicks to keep his balance and get as many yards as possible. And that's what you want to see from your players. You want to see these guys continue to compete against live competition.
You would say 3rd and a yard should be a pretty good spot for North Carolina Central, but not the way this Aggie defensive line has played today. It's been tough chugging up the middle, and their woes continue. They tried the quick pitch to Totten. That's a loose football. Do we have the game's first turnover as they umpile? Referees and the officials all trying to get in there, and there's the takeaway for North Carolina A&T.
And I just don't like that play. You've got 3rd and a yard, and you're pitching it back to make 3rd and a yard to 3rd and 7. You're pitching a wet football back against a defense that's played penetrating defense all afternoon getting up the field. That's why I like to see offenses go back to old school football. Get in the I formation, come downhill. I never like seeing the pistol formation or pitches back to a back when you only need 1 yard.
Alex Spoomba, the Fort Scott transfer, able to end up with the football on the bottom of the pile, and A takeaway for Sam Washington's defense, something they've been very good at this year, their 18th takeaway of the year. And they go right back to work with Martin as he stumbles his way, rushes ahead to the 32.
And, you know, we were talking off air during one of the breaks. And, Sean, you and I have had the opportunity to cover a lot of college football together this season. And this, by far, is the best offensive line that I've seen this season as a whole. Now, we've seen some great players at different positions along the offensive lines for some of the teams that we've covered. But as a whole.
Oh, what a catch by Bell as the cornerback gave up on it. Brian Mills turned his head and looked like he just stopped. And Bell holds it in. 32 yards, Elijah Bell with his second touchdown of the day.
And probably what's more impressive is the throw by Carter. You've got a heavy, wet football, and he lays it right on Bell where all he has to do is run under the football. Watch this throw on the run, and it's right there. That's just a great pass and catch.
But going back to your point with this offensive line, it's a versatile unit in the fact that they can blow you over and they're agile enough to get out on those pulling lanes and wreak havoc. Khalil Carter wreaking some havoc with his arm. A familiar target. No one's caught more footballs in Greensboro than Elijah Bell.
Team.
2019 has been a record-setting year for Elijah Bell, playing in his final game at home here in Greensboro. He has passed some legendary names to don the Aggie shoulder pads. Herbert Harbison, Wallace Miles. Bell has surpassed them to top the receiving charts at North Carolina A&T. 3 catches, over 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and this one, 2016 MEAC Rookie of the Year, and he has not slowed down. His best year was actually his sophomore campaign. 2017, just missed out on a 1,000-yard receiving season. And no matter who the opponent is, Elijah Bell has been tough to handle for the opposition's secondary. We saw him against Duke earlier this year, and Blue Devils had a tough time keeping up with him. A true weapon on the outside, North Carolina A&T. All right, for North Carolina Central. Eagle offense just unable to get any type of momentum built. Davius Richard continues to battle. Trey Oliver watching his young team, a roster with over 40 freshmen. Try to battle through now. It's gut check time in this rivalry. Start shot from the 34. They fake the jet sweep motion. They put the ball on the turf. It's being kicked around, and I think the Aggies ended up with it. Scramble at the 38-yard line. North Carolina Central gives it up on their second straight position. The Aggie D comes away with the takeaway.
And when you're running an RPO offense, it's very difficult to put the ball in the belly of the back and pull it back out. You've got a wet football. Very often, you've got jet sweep action, then you've got the dive action, you've got the quarterback. The back doesn't know if the quarterback is going to give him the ball. He's got to squeeze the football. You see the quarterback look like he wanted to bring the ball out, but the back thought he was giving him the football. When you got a wet football, it's a very difficult offense to run, especially when you're facing an aggressive defense like this A&T defense that have pinned their ears back and are just coming after the quarterback.
That was Kyan Howard who recovered that fumble. Howard, the sophomore, he's really the quarterback of this defense. Young man who just lives in the film room and has exceeded expectations his first year starting. Coming in this game, 68 tackles, and coaches were just thrilled with his performance, and they could not get enough superlatives out to describe his play this year.
And they also talked about his offseason and getting in better shape to be able to play longer and play all 3 downs, be a 3-down player. You see the ball right there. It's a
one-on-one fight. Howard, number 54, matched up with Robert Mitchell, the left guard, number 55 in the white for North Carolina Central.
After review, rolling on the field stands. First down, North Carolina A&T.
But Howard's a neat story in the fact that he's a homegrown product right here from Greensboro. At first, his senior year, he wasn't sure if he wanted to stay in the city. He thought traveling might be fun, but he made a couple of visits, got to know the coaches, and he changed his tune really quickly. He loved it, fell in love with the setup, the championship pedigree, and looks like he's going to be a good one for the next couple of years, the anchor in the center of this defense from that linebacking core. Feedy gets his second series of the football game from the pistol. Looked like he wasn't ready for the snap, able to get his hands up. Deshaun Baker in some trouble, does his best to try to scrape and fight to get back to the line of scrimmage. Noah Rainbow Douglas able to bring him down, a loss of 2, 2nd and 12. And last week, it was a really good move by Sam Washington. It was a tight game at halftime with Bethune-Cookman, and he had a hunch that maybe Jalen Fowler could ignite the offense, and Fowler came in, threw a couple of touchdowns. We haven't seen Fowler today. So Khalil Carter was banged up. He took some shots from that Bethune-Cookman defense. And now Ifedi puts some air to the ball, looking for Bell again, and it's knocked away, incomplete.
And what was interesting, you talked about all of the young players for North Carolina Central. The coaching staff will use this game to remind these young men as they continue to mature and go through their career at North Carolina Central of what can happen and what you want to defend from happening again. So this is a learning process for all of these young men as well.
This is a North Carolina Central team that has really battled the top of the MEAC to some close games. Ifedi throws a wobbler, but a lot of cushion given to Corey Banks, and he will make the catch. Falls ahead to the 25-yard line, 16 yards on the hookup, as he was able to beat Steven Stokes in the first down. But you go back through the regular season, the Eagles gave Florida A&M all they could handle, losing 28-21. It was a 4-quarter game with Bethune-Cookman. Defensive battle last week with South Carolina State, so they measured up pretty well with the elite in the MEAC up until today. Nifty little move by Ifedi, and he's into the second wave. Tripped up, a touchdown-saving tackle again made by Stokes as Ifedi scrambles for 24.
And you see the deceptive speed. When he gets to the second level, it looks like the linebacker's going to be able to make a play right here. Then he just picks up the speed and runs away from him. He gets an additional 15 yards.
Quick huddle. They line up, overload the right side. That's the direction they go. How about the patience by Baker? And he is into the end zone for the touchdown. Kashawn Baker with his second score today.
And that was very Le'Veon Bellish, the way that he ran that football. He danced and waited and waited. And when he saw the scene, he planted and got north and south and was able to get the touchdown. Kind of Alvin Kamara-ish, Le'Veon Bell. You see right there, he gets the football. He dances, he waits. Boom, I see it. Now he hits it, plants that foot, and gets to the end zone. Patient running.
And patient blocking by William Simpson, the fullback. He did not go out on the edge. He waited to see who cleared, and then Simpson able to throw that last block that catapulted Baker in.
Now what'll be interesting is the way the football was, did it break the plane? Because on that last replay, it looked like the ball may not have broken the plane. Well, look, right here. Did the ball break the plane? I think it did right there. I think they're going to call that a touchdown.
I don't think there's enough evidence to overturn the ruling on the field, which is a touchdown.
Touchdown.
So Baker has his second touchdown. So a young man, Sean Baker, who entering last week had just 2 touchdowns on the season. And now, over the final 2 weeks of this regular season, he's doubled it. 2 last week, 2 more today. Carolina A&T for the second straight year dominating their rival. Ruiz adds the point after. They can beat you in so many different ways. A couple of takeaways by their D. A&T extends the lead.
Work for iPhones. More for your thing. That's our thing.
North Carolina A&T out in front of North Carolina Central, the 91st annual Aggie Eagle Classic. 47-0 Aggies in control. Don't forget, coming up in December, it's the finales of the American game and the greatest. First on the American game, learn the story of the Heisman and how it can define a player's career and life. And then it's the top 11 greatest Heisman debates in history. If you missed either of these series, you can catch up all the episodes on demand on the ESPN app. I was able to do that. We did some binge watching a couple of weekends ago. 11 greatest Heisman debates. Lots of fun. You know what it's like to block for a Heisman type of quarterback in Charlie Ward. It had to be a lot of fun.
Not a Heisman type, a Heisman
winner.
quarterback.
Absolutely. Heisman winner.
He made it very easy. There were a lot of times where we were beat, but he was such an athletic and gifted quarterback. He was able to escape those would-be defenders. Kind of like when we were talking about Lamar Jackson a little bit earlier. There's just special talent. Those guys have the ability to just be game breakers from anywhere on the football field.
I'm sure if you asked Charlie, he'd say you made it pretty easy for him.
Absolutely. Yes, I was pretty great back in my day.
Tell you what, Coach Oliver had you fired up to do a couple of goal line blocks.
Absolutely. I told Coach
after our talk.
I got 2 goal line plays in me now. They may have to carry me off the field, but I got 2 for him.
There's a little bit of space for Isaiah Totten, quick hitter, and take it out past the 35 up to the 37-yard line. That's Jordan Freeman, 12 yards in the quick burst to Freeman. Micah Zanders orchestrating at quarterback, the redshirt junior. Zanders actually started his career at Hines Community College. He transferred to North Carolina Central. He was injured just 3 games into the 2017 season. He had earned the starting job in his first year on campus. He utilized a red shirt last year, did not play a game, and now injured again in 2019. Tough running by Freeman, takes a loss, turns it into a positive game.
This is an opportunity for the coaching staff to assess some of their younger talent, get some of these guys in with live action and see how they progress and see how well they're able to play, especially in bad conditions in a game that you know you're not going to win.
Sanders redirecting his tailback. That's Latrell Collier into the game. Play fake. Sanders rolling out to that boundary side. He had nowhere to go. What an afternoon for Leon Smalls. Trey Smalls has been all over leading this defense.
And once again, you have to attribute his pass play at the linebacker position, being a shorter defensive end at 6 feet, but 250 pounds. He uses his leverage extremely well. He's able to get under the offensive lineman, and the low man will always win the battle at the line of scrimmage.
Bring back Richard on this passing situation. Just 2 of 10 today for North Carolina Central, and this has been a big reason why he is sacked by Devin Harrell. These ends of Harrell and Smalls are going to have a lot of fun watching the film tomorrow morning. They have dominated up front.
Well, they're getting pressure with a 4-man pass rush, and when the offensive tackles are giving, you can't continue to give ground. Sometimes as an offensive tackle, even on pass plays, you have to go out and jump the defensive lineman, which means you go out and you aggressively hit them as if it's a running play. You can't get up the field because you'll be an illegal player up the field, but you give them something different to think about as opposed to just pinning their ears back and coming after your quarterback.
Big hit on the return. Straight up the gut goes Corey Banks. And boy, he really paid the price. Miles Turman hit him hard, and he sent Banks catapulting into the air, but nonetheless, good starting position for North Carolina A&T. Don't forget, Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app, we'll have the exclusive reveal of the next college football playoff top 25 rankings. Reese and the guys breaking them down from top to bottom. We'll have coaches' reactions, as well as a live interview with the committee chairman, Rob Mullins. That's Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Kingsley Feedy from the 44-yard line. He will keep it. Has Simpson, the big fullback, just clearing a big old path for him, and he rumbles for 13 yards behind William Simpson. We are both offensive lineman fans, blocking. This is really a treat to see the fullback work with this line and the way they get out ahead of these ball carriers, and even the patient approach they take and knowing their keys on who to take out.
Well, when you've got a 290-pound fullback that can run as well as Simpson can, and a very intelligent fullback, that's one of the things that I think stands out about Simpson and his block. He doesn't just run in there and put his head down. He finds his assignment. He plays really good assignment football. And as I'm speaking about it, he puts his head down and misses the guy totally. I'm trying to give him props. But when you look at this offensive line as a whole, one of the things that they've done a really good job of is being patient. As an offensive lineman, one of the keys to being successful is your pre-snap reads, knowing who is who, which the center identifies the middle linebacker, and your reads are based off of who we call the middle linebacker, and then stalking, not flying out there to make the big hit, but stalking these guys, because the majority of the time as an offensive lineman, when you get to the second level, you're going to face a better athlete, a quicker athlete. So you have to stalk them, use your size to cover them up. And when you get hands on them, then you assert your size on them and you try and bull them over. But you've got to get to them. And that's one thing that I've seen throughout this afternoon by this offensive line. They've been very, very patient. They've gotten really good fits. And when these big fellas get around the edge and pull, what's being played out and what people are overlooking is the side of the line that they're pulling around, they're being stout and getting pushed, so they're not affecting their ability to get around that edge and get in that lane and open up a seam for these backs to run through.
As a result, they have put 8 explosive plays on the board today, plays over 20 yards to keep the chains, keep this drive alive. And Ifedi might have stayed on his feet. He certainly thinks so. No whistle, touchdown. Ifedi landed right on the back of a Central defender. Everybody stopped but the quarterback, and he takes it in for 6.
And it actually was not a Central defender.
Rolling on the field is a touchdown. That play is under further review.
It's actually number 79, Dante Keys. Once again, watch the patience by number 79 as he leads block on this play. And you'll see the back running up his back. Watch 79. You see him coming through right there? The back is on top of him, and he just rolls right over him and gets going to the end zone. Ifedi, a good job continuing to play through the play. But you see, once again, patience. Look at 79. Look at him. Right here. Going up the field. He falls down. He stays on top. Elbow does not touch the ground. Ifedi continues to run, continues to play through the play. That's what offensive linemen do. We sacrifice for our quarterbacks and our running backs.
The Carolina Hurricanes have a game down the interstate tonight with Florida. In hockey, that's called an assist.
Rolling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
Dante Keys missed the game last year against North Carolina Central. He was all fired up this week. He came down with an illness, was not able to go last year, so he's had this brewing all off season, the chance to take on the rival Central, and he has made the most of it.
And I tell you what, this A&T offensive line is putting the MEAC on notice. Outside of Pettiford, who's a senior, everybody will be returning that we see this afternoon. And as long as they find them a left tackle, this is going to be one of the most formidable offensive lines in the country.
The presence of mind by Kingsley Afidi to not stop, to keep going. Saw some of the defenders for North Carolina Central stop thinking he was down, but another explosive play. That's number 9 today for North Carolina A&T. That has the North Carolina Central sideline searching for answers.
Now, if you're Coach Washington at this point for North Carolina A&T, do you start to pull some of your starters? Because you got the Celebration Bowl coming up. And the last thing that you want to do in a ball game that you're surely going to win is get one of your players hurt, one of your players that you depend on. You don't want anybody to get hurt, for that matter, but you don't want one of your starters to get hurt in a game that they should not be playing in when you've got a 53-point lead.
And what's unique,
a 54-point lead.
And what's unique and different about the MEAC and the SWAC is the MEAC does not have a conference championship game. The SWAC has one more week to go, a couple more weeks before they move into their championship game to see who will face North Carolina A&T in the Celebration Bowl, which is coming up, the 5th annual Celebration Bowl, the annual game between the MEAC and the SWAC. Started back in 2015, has moved inside the beautiful Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. The MEAC has had the upper hand. All those victories coming from North Carolina A&T. That kicks off our bowl season, 12 noon, December 21st Eastern, ABC. Now the SWAC has a pretty good race going on. Alcorn State, they have already captured the East. If they win their game today, they will host the SWAC championship. Southern and Grambling fighting for that West supremacy. So those are the teams that they're going to be looking ahead to possibly facing in Atlanta. So there's your SWAC opponents. You have the Braves currently at 5-1, the Jags sitting at 5-1, Grambling at 4-2. They will get together, Grambling and Southern, next weekend in the Bayou Classic, with the SWAC championship slated for December 7th on ESPNU. So the MEAC has pretty much been settled. The SWAC, a different story. Richard wanted to go deep. It was well covered. This will be a secondary sack as they get to him back at the 26.
And once again, when you can drop 7 into coverage, you're going to get coverage sacks. I don't care who you have running routes. When you've got that many defenders back there, there's nowhere for the quarterback to go with the football.
North Carolina Central will not have to take another snap. The two-time defending MEAC champions really taking it to their rival on a soggy Saturday. Teaching moments for Trey Oliver in this North Carolina Central program. He tries to deliver some fire-up words for the final 15 minutes. There's been plenty of fireworks delivered, though, by A&T today. Elijah Bell with a couple of touchdown receptions. The seniors putting on a show. All Aggies after 3.
This network for iPhones. More for your thing. That's our thing.
Alongside Forrest Conley, Sean Kinney welcoming you back to Greensboro as we start the fourth quarter. North Carolina A&T all out in front of North Carolina Central. It has been all Aggies today. 54-0. Richard in this offense, which has generated just 5 yards of offense, will get a short completion. It's Xavier McCoy with the catch. Not enough for the first down, and the punting unit sent out. Just incredible lopsidedness to this football game. North Carolina A&T with 489 yards of offense. North Carolina Central, after that completion, just 9 yards today. Staggering numbers.
I don't know what to say. I mean, you said it off air. I've just never seen anything like this. It's just been a great outing for North Carolina A&T. But I will say this, Central, they have a lot of young players. And you just have to hope that this doesn't affect them long term. They use this as a learning mechanism. The one thing I will continue to say, though, this Central Ball Club continues to compete. They're not quitting. They're continuing to compete, and that's all you can ask for as a coaching staff.
It's been a North Carolina A&T dynasty since 2014. 4 MEAC championships. They have really played well in Atlanta, winning 3 Celebration Bowl titles. And against the MEAC, they have been the measuring stick of success. The record against fellow MEAC opponents, and usually the championship road, the road to Atlanta, rolls through Greensboro, and this year, no exception. At the 24-yard line, first down give. And that was what was so interesting coming into this game. This is a bitter rivalry. These universities do not like each other on the football field. Yet you had 2 head coaches squaring off for the very first time on opposite sidelines who have nothing but high admiration and respect for what they have been able to accomplish throughout their years, starting with Sam Washington in his second year at A&T, and then, of course, Trey Oliver, the alumnus, coming back to guide North Carolina Central.
But you have to wonder, after this game, does Trey Oliver still feel the same way about Sam Washington? Because, they're continuing to press, and try and put more points on the board.
3 yards in the scramble up to the 30-yard line. We were talking with Trey Oliver, and he precisely remembered his first moment as a player, as a part of this rivalry. It was at Carter Finley Stadium. It was during the years where they played at a neutral site in Raleigh. He was the punter and star defensive back for North Carolina Central. His first snap, he punted 5 yards deep in his end zone, and he delivered a bomb. It was a gorgeous punt, he said with a chuckle.
Well, it's interesting when we talked to Coach Oliver and we asked him what presents the biggest challenge facing this A&T ball club. He chuckled, he laughed, and he said everything. He said the entire team, at every position, they're really good. So we've got to have our best game.
See the years he was here in Greensboro, Rod Broadway's staff. He's been a part of a lot of championship-type football teams. His years at Grambling, Southern, and now trying to bring that championship pedigree back to Durham at North Carolina Central.
And it takes time. He's got to get his players in. They've got to get recruiting. He talked about that, wanting to recruit the players that play well with the play calling and the offense that they run, the offensive sets that they run. So they've got to get those players in, and then they've got a lot of young players that they need to continue to develop. So it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. You think about this North Carolina A&T ball club. It didn't happen overnight. It was a process. So I think it's an ongoing process. He's in a hotbed of recruiting in North Carolina. He's in Durham, North Carolina, where you've got a lot of kids that like to come to that area. You've got the Raleigh area. You've got Fayetteville. You can come down to this Greensboro area, go over to Charlotte, Winston-Salem. So there's a lot of recruiting, a lot of hotbed athletes that he can get into this program, and they'll continue to get better.
And not only the recruiting, but I think one thing that North Carolina A&T has done really well the last few years is bring in those transfers that are looking for a change of scenery, a change in environment, especially the pipeline with South Carolina, some of those programs that the Aggies have had success with.
Well, if I'm North Carolina Central, I'm looking at Duke, I'm looking at North Carolina State and North Carolina. Any of those kids that want to transfer, hey, you can stay right where you are. Just come over to this side of town, come to our great university, and help us continue to build our tradition and get back to winning football games like we're used to.
3rd down and 6 for North Carolina A&T. Winding down, using all of that play clock as they try to shorten up this 4th quarter. And a nice job by the Eagle defense. They had penetration all over. There was Darius Royster on that last stop. So the MEAC champions have been represented by these two universities. North Carolina A&T looking for their 4th MEAC title in the last 5 years. Central had that great run in 2016, and Celebration Bowl victories. North Carolina A&T as well, so they have carried over the dominance of the MEAC into the Celebration Bowl. They'll be carrying a lot of momentum to Atlanta again here in 2019 for next month's battle with the SWAT.
Well, right now, in the last 2 seasons, North Carolina A&T has, if Central doesn't score and the score stays the same, they will have won or had a difference of score 99-0.
They've added to that total this year. Inside 10 minutes to go. Aggies dancing on their sideline.
For shiny hair, consider incorporating finishing oil to your styling routine.
ESPN College Football is presented by McDonald's.
Jermaine Martin certainly in contention for Offensive Player of the Year honors in the MEAC. A couple of rushing touchdowns today. His backup, Deshaun Baker, has found the end zone twice as well. And then Ifedi, third-string quarterback with a long touchdown run. It all adds up, 325 yards of rushing for North Carolina A&T. The second straight week where it has been the ground game that has just ripped away at the opposing defense. Last week, 63 plays from the line of scrimmage run by the A&T offense, 50 of those rushing calls. This week, 49 plays from the line of scrimmage, 39 have come on the ground.
Well, they're using their dominant offensive line. And when you've got an offensive line that can block like these young men have blocked today, like they blocked last week, like they've blocked throughout this season, why not take advantage of it? You know, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. And that's exactly what they did coming into this ball game. North Carolina Central knew they wanted to establish the run, and that was something that they had to stop if they were going to be successful, and they just haven't been able to.
Micah Sanders is chased down by, yep, you guessed it, Leon Smalls. What an afternoon. He has been in the backfield time and time again.
Well, it's unfair because Smalls is a former linebacker, and he's still got linebacker speed and ability off that edge. And once he's able to get going, you rarely going to see him get outrun by a quarterback. You see right there, once he sees and deciphers what's going on with the play, he's able to run the quarterback down. Great lateral movement by Smalls.
Third down and 11. They run a stunt. The ball was dropped on the snap by Sanders. He gets back on top of it, and Michael Branch gets on top of him. And here's the depth for North Carolina A&T. They have Jermaine McDaniel, the transfer from Appalachian State. He was banged up a week ago. He was in uniform today. We really haven't seen him because Smalls has been dominating so much up front. You have Branch starting in front of Justin Cates, who was a former All-MEAC performer. I mean, they just keep reloading. Talent upon talent stacked on their depth chart.
And one thing they do well, too, is they recruit players that do what they do well. Not just guys that have gaudy high school numbers. Too often, teams don't recruit players that do what they do well. They've done a really good job of that.
The big guys on that D-line, they're going to have a fun Saturday night.
Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus included for just $35 a month.
Celebrating 150 years of college football, we welcome you back to Greensboro. It has been a messy afternoon. Rain, chilly temperatures, but smiles, especially for the fans here at North Carolina A&T. What a show they have put on, clinching their MEAC championship, clinching their spot in next month's Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. From the 49-yard line, North Carolina A&T goes to work, and double-digit yards along the near sideline. The quarterback checking in. That is Khalil Gilliam getting his first action of the year. 18 yards on the run for Gilliam as he takes it to the 35. Khalil Carter, the starter, his day done. Solid work by Kingsley Feedy in the second half, and now they give Gilliam a chance. First down give, a pickup of 2 yards. You know, you look at this North Carolina Central defense, and they have a lot of young guys, but one that has been a leader throughout the years, the fifth-year senior Darius Royster. He's the MEAC leader in sacks, tackle for losses, and forced fumbles this year. He's a smaller defensive body at 215 pounds. He had a quiet day today, but certainly don't want to go 4 quarters of football without talking about what he has accomplished and what he has meant to the Seagull football program the past 4 years.
Well, I think Darius Royster has the ability to play at the next level with the right opportunity. It would have to be at the linebacker position at special teams to get on the field early as he continues to try and add muscle mass, if that's something that he wants to do, because he's shown an ability to rush the passer off the edge, but he's also shown an ability to play, from a standing position and make plays. He's a very quick player, a very heady player, and he's a player that's made plays throughout his career. You see the playmaking ability and what he's done with those numbers.
And a quiet leader, and wasn't always easy. Remember, he started his career, he wanted to stay close to home, so he started his career at Norfolk State, but then his father became very ill, so he had to become a caretaker. He nursed his father back to health. Norfolk State went through a coaching change, so he had to go through walk-on tryouts, did not make the team. And then walked on here at North Carolina Central, and the rest is history. He has been one of the main defensive weapons in this conference the last couple of years, and it's all about hard work and perseverance for him.
Well, I think what stands out, you think about the pressure he had coming into the season, being voted the preseason MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. And then you come into this ball game with 16 tackles for loss, number 1 in the conference, 9 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, number 1 in the conference, forcing fumbles. He has lived up to all of those expectations and done a great job for this North Carolina Central program.
So for all you young players watching at home, Darius Royster was told time and time again he's too small, he's too skinny to play in the MEAC conference, and look at what he has done, as we mentioned, through his hard work and through his perseverance on and off the field. And that was interesting coming in. That was one of the intriguing matchups I was looking forward to. How does the offensive line match up with him and try to contain him and force? I go back to some of our conversations through the years. Back in your days at Florida State, you brought up the name Trev Alberts, a smaller defensive lineman for Nebraska, is one of the tougher guys that you went across personally in a one-on-one matchup.
Well, as an offensive tackle, when you go to start studying your next opponent and you see a defensive end, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 260 or under, okay, this guy's a speed rusher. You have to prepare, you have to get good kick steps, you have to use your punching ability, but you also have to be wary of their ability to cut under you. When you see a bigger guy, it's going to be a dancing bear affair. But when you see those smaller guys, you know that you've got to go out there and you've got to do a little bit more. The preparation is a bit different. And when you look at a kid like Royster, you look at his smallish size, 225 pounds, 6'2". That's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's going to be quick. He's going to play with a low center of gravity. He's going to do things that bigger guys can't do. And he's not going to get tired. That's one of the things when you see a smaller guy, too. They can run for days. They're like rabbits out there. So when you see a smaller guy like that, you have to prepare a little bit differently. And I think that's what made him so effective. And that's why I say he has an opportunity to play at the next level. Some things have to happen. It needs to be the right opportunity. But I think if he can get on with the team and show that he can play on special teams and that he's dedicated to adding a little bit more muscle mass, he has the ability to be a playmaker at the next level.
North Carolina A&T looking at a 4th down. 4th and 11, using all of the play clock. TJ Boyce, the main ball carrier on the last couple of touches. Number 36, he's flanking Gilliam, the quarterback. 4th and 11. He'll take the snap with a second to go. It's a roller, and the young quarterback forced to eat it. And North Carolina Central will have one more crack to avoid the shutout as they will send out the offensive unit. 2:25 to go in this 4th quarter. North Carolina A&T ready to celebrate their 3rd straight Aggie Eagle Classic victory. A lot of tradition at North Carolina Central. 3 MEAC championships, most recently in 2016. Had a lot of success at Division II back in the 80s. The final 2 years in Division II, they were playoff qualifiers, 05 and 06, before making the move up to the FCS. Richards' throw incomplete. Khalil Carter has waited his turn to take over this winning program today. Look at the yards per completion. 4 of 8, 161 yards, couple of touchdowns. He's always been a hard-nosed runner from that quarterback position. Very powerful young man in the weight room. He's one of the leaders. The job he has done. I think it's a great story to tell, especially in this era of the transfer portal. But Khalil Carter has stuck through it, both the good times and the bad, in his days here in Greensboro. It all started with a stirring come-from-behind win over South Carolina State. Then he sustained a serious knee injury. It cost him all of 2016. He then sat on the bench watching the record numbers put up by Raynard. An off-the-field serious car accident left him with a broken leg, causing him to miss the Celebration Bowl last year. He went through the offseason rehabbing, and now in his final go-around, his first chance to really lasso this offense and embrace it. It has been his calm demeanor and his attention to detail in not making the mistakes that has allowed North Carolina A&T, despite the graduation of so many talented players from last year, to keep that torch lit and to represent the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl.
A great story of perseverance and never giving up.
Third down and 8. Richard all bottled up, and Smalls is going to get another one. Holy smokes. He watched his teammate earlier this year, Jermaine McDaniel, get 3 sacks against Elon in his season debut. Smalls has number 3 today. And North Carolina Central with 8 yards of offense is what they're going to finish up with.
I mean, Smalls is doing his best Khalil Mack impression. He's just been unblockable off that edge all afternoon.
North Carolina Central will let this punt come to a rest. And there is the Gatorade splash. And for the 2nd straight year, Sam Washington showing he still has a few moves on that sideline. I'm not sure if he's doing it to try to get warm or if he's having some good times down there. I know his Aggie team is.
But you see, he got that hood on before they poured the water on him. Now they're getting all the coaches.
It's the defensive coordinator, Courtney Cord, who just got wet as well. Boy, he has to be proud of his team and the way they imposed their will.
They probably could have gave them those showers in the first quarter, the way this team has played this afternoon. It was just been a totally dominant performance by this North Carolina A&T ball club. And whomever comes out of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, they've got a tough task to try and beat this ball club for that Celebration Bowl championship.
2 years on the job, 2 straight MEAC championships for Sam Washington. And Rob Broadway announced the retirement. I think everybody around Greensboro knew it was going to be Washington's job. And this is a man who has been around this program since joining Broadway's staff 2011, and now another appearance in the Celebration Bowl. Sam Washington and North Carolina A&T, and the respect between 2 friends. Trey Oliver called Sam almost like a second father figure in his life, and you could see the admiration, the respect between these 2. Even though it was one-sided today, you can bet Oliver and North Carolina Central will get things cranked up.
And I love the sportsmanship that you see going on the field right now. We talk about all of the pregame spats, the potential for spats throughout the game. It got a little chippy, but you see the sportsmanship because all of these young men are very familiar with one another. These young men have played together, played against one another, and been on a recruiting trail with one another. So I like the sportsmanship that we see following this ball game.
Rob Broadway back in 2015, prior to a game with North Carolina, was asked, what are you guys going to do to mix it up? How are you going to compete with an ACC school? And he simply said, and this is one of the more famous lines when you look at North Carolina A&T football, we're like Kentucky Fried Chicken. We don't do burgers, we don't do fish, we do chicken. And that line has been carried over to Sam Washington's staff and this team. Their chicken is quite simply protect the football, win the kicking game, create turnovers, the recipe for success. Today, 2 takeaways, a bruising ground assault, and the end result is another MEAC championship. North Carolina A&T captures the 91st edition of the Aggie Eagle Classic. That's the story from Greensboro. For Forrest Conley, this is Sean Kinney saying so long from Greensboro, North Carolina. North Carolina A&T packing the bags. They're heading to the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.